It's now time for Community Conversations, a program focusing on the people working to make the Owensboro community a better place while offering viewpoints from all sides of the issues. The views expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, or our underwriters or sponsors.
KLEK 2.5 FM. Good morning to you on your Monday. It's the first of the month, like Bone Thugs and Harmony used to say. I'm not going to sing the song for you, but this is Community Conversations. Is in studio with you today. We have Mrs. Quabila Hart, my lovely co-host, and we also have a very special guest, someone who I have a lot of admiration and respect for. We have Dr. Cherisse Jones-Branch. She is a professor of history at Arkansas State University, and she also does our KLEK Black History Moment each and every year on KLEK. It's actually the most popular educational programs, and she is involved in a lot of things. She is actually now the chair of the Arkansas Humanities Council, so she's involved in a little bit of everything. So we just want to thank Dr. Branch for stopping by the studio today. How are you doing today, Dr. Branch?
I'm doing just fine, thank you. Very, very tired, but I'm doing very well, thank you.
And of course you're tired because you just had a trip, because came back from a trip from Nova Scotia, Canada. So why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about that trip and some of the stuff that you learned and some of the stuff that you did?
Okay, well, first of all, it took 18 hours to get home to do a series of airline delays between Canada, New York, Atlanta, and then finally at about 1:30 this morning I made it back to Jonesboro, so I'm very thankful to my husband for picking me up and very thankful to the Lord for safe journeys. I went to Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada as part of a study abroad that a colleague of mine, Dr. Cammie Fletcher, she's a professor of history at the University, and she put the abroad together because she really wants her students to understand the African diaspora and all the places in the world where people of African descent live. And she opened the trip up to the public, and so my sister and I decided we wanted to go. So we just spent 6 days in Halifax, Nova Scotia, where we did a Black History tour of Halifax. So it was really, really fascinating.
I can imagine the history, just the size of everything was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it was really beautiful, really wonderful, and really, really informative. It's I started off calling it an education, but I think it was more accurately called an educational trip because that's exactly what it was.
Now, I know some cultures are very sensitive about, they're taking pictures or taking things away from their space. Were they very strict on that, or were they just really open to you all?
They were some of the most wonderful and accommodating people I believe I have ever met.
Okay.
They were absolutely wonderful. They were thrilled we were there.
Okay.
And they were thrilled we were so interested in the history of African Nova Scotians.
I would like to ask, what was the weather? I know this is...
It was hot. Now, not as hot as it was here.
Okay.
It was hot. It was surprisingly hot. But in the evenings were really cool. I think the average temperature was, I'm going to say about 60 in the evenings. Okay. And that's in Fahrenheit. They use, Celsius in Canada. I don't remember what it was Celsius, but it was pretty cool in the evenings and reasonably warm during the days. I would say 80s, low 90s.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you see incorporating what you learned there into your syllabus maybe next semester or any upcoming classes?
Oh, absolutely. I took so many pictures, I'm surprised my iPad didn't work. Yes, because one of the things that's really good, there's so many things that were just really interesting about that trip, but one of the most interesting things to me was that, number one, there are people of African descent in Nova Scotia who have been there since the 1700s.
Oh my goodness.
So I met Black Nova Scotians, families that have been in Nova Scotia for 7 or 8 generations.
That is really wonderful. Mm-hmm. Did you see any similarities in their cultures in our culture, like how we live here in the United States?
In fact, I didn't see any real differences, to tell you the truth. And that has actually been one of my experiences in all the places I've been in the world. Number one, there will always be black people.
Yes.
There might only be two, but we're everywhere.
Okay.
And number two, we are remarkably similar. We are far more similar than we are different.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And let me pick back off of that, because you mentioned that we are similar no matter where we are in the world. You know, and when we're growing up, you know, we're taught through our history classes that Africans and African Americans and certain people are portrayed a certain way, and then you travel to where they are and you see things are totally different. So I just kind of want you to kind of comment and elaborate on that as someone who is very knowledgeable about history and who has traveled all over the world and experienced this history for herself.
Mm-hmm. I mean, of course, there are some cultural differences, but by and large, I'll give you an example. I once did a study abroad when I was in graduate school to Swaziland in Southern Africa, and the people looked the same to me. I saw relatives. I thought I saw relatives, and then they would start speaking Siswati, and then I realized, oh, it's not Uncle so-and-so. I don't know who that is, but he looks like Uncle so-and-so.
Everyone has at least one twin somewhere.
I don't think I found a twin, but what I loved was that when I was in Africa, the only way they knew I wasn't American is when I spoke.
Oh, wow.
They had no idea that I was an American otherwise. I got a few marriage proposals, and people started speaking to me, and I'd say, I'm really sorry, but I can't understand a word you're saying. Or, you know, my Swahili is very, is very limited. What I also noticed that is similar no matter where you go, is that there's this history of oppression, and there's this history also of resistance. And, you know, in places like Africa and other places in the African diaspora, I always tell people, don't believe the hype. I have pictures of me sitting in Africa in the mall eating ribs back when I ate pork.
Wow.
I mean, you know, don't believe National Geographic, or don't accept that's the only story. It's not the only story. People live, they go to work. I eat in fancy restaurants. People are wealthy. Not everybody's wealthy, but you know, not everybody's wealthy.
Yes.
But just to add to that, I think Kabila, you and I had a conversation with Reverend Ota
Yes.
a while back. Reverend Ota was talking about life in Lagos and how he said there were so many billionaires there, and he said that oftentimes that they get things before we get, like the billionaires over there, like when the new fresh hot car comes out,
They've already got it.
they'll order, they'll ride around in it, and they got all this wealth that they flaunt.
Well, and also they tend to speak more languages than we do. Again, yes, they do tend to be wealthy. They tend to be extraordinarily well educated, extraordinarily well traveled. We know sometimes I'm here we have enough trouble getting people to Memphis, and so you've got people who were educated in Europe, educated in the United States, people who have never known anything but wealth. That's not what we see on TV, but I promise you it's real. I've seen it myself.
Oh, wow. I want to back up just a little bit. For those that may not know you, how did you get interested in studying African American history? How did you get into this field, period?
Well, I'll tell you, when I was a kid, I knew on some level that I wanted to be a historian, and one of the things that struck me as a child, when I was a kid, we only had 3 channels, and we really could only watch one on PBS. And I presented it for a long time, and I'm so incredibly thankful to my father and my mother for you know, having that vision for us to read and learn as much as possible. But we had a set, I don't know if you remember this, the Encyclopedia Britannica.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's your world book.
The world book. And I noticed even as a child that I didn't really see anything in there that represented me and people like me. And my parents rectified that pretty quickly by buying, remember the Ebony?
Yes.
Encyclopedia of Black History. They still have it, by the way.
Oh, wow.
I had one of those too.
Yeah, and I remember just poring over that and just being fascinated by history. And there were things I knew even in high school that they weren't talking about in my high school social studies class. And I hear that a lot. It was true when I was in high school. It was true when my parents were in high school. So there was a picture, and I didn't see people like me in it. And so I was always curious. And I knew this was an area that I was interested in. And so I only had one class in it when I was an undergrad.
Okay.
It was the only class they had. They had one in African history and one in African American history. and that was it. It was when I went to graduate school that I really started taking courses, and of course I read a lot. And my father, again, made us read a lot. So we knew about Black authors like Ivan Van Sertima, who is the author of They Came Before Columbus. We read Souls of Black Folk. We had to read.
Okay.
Yeah, and by the way, we weren't the kids to go and hang out. That wasn't us.
Okay.
I said, you can go play down the street, you got a backyard, that's your playground. So we weren't in the backyard playing, we were reading.
And it sounds like my growing up, I wasn't allowed to venture out.
No.
We
We couldn't do that. We had to read or play in the backyard.
And I think reading is becoming a lost art. I mean, Lagenzi was talking earlier about how kids are nowadays on these devices. I wish there was more information available for them on the devices.
Well, it's available, it's just they're not.
That's not what they're looking for. It's available.
Okay, well, I wish more parents will push their children. Okay, if they have an iPad or Android or Kindle or something, download those books and those documents that are educational for them.
And a lot of them are free.
And
Or
see,
the cost is very minimal.
it's out because we are, and I use we in quotations, we are too lazy to just go and look and search, do a simple search for something, or just, oh, that's too much reading, or that's too many words, or that's...
Yes, I get a lot of that. I actually had someone in my house years ago who looked around and said, "Why you got all these books?" And I just thought, what?
Really?
Well, unfortunately, you know what they say, the bad impression about books.
Well, we're not gonna say that, but
I'll tell you off the bat, Eric.
okay.
Let's speak with Dr. Cherisse Jones-Branch, professor of history at Arkansas State University. We got a couple of Facebook shout outs. Shout out to Portia McGregory and Tony Thomas. Appreciate you for watching on Facebook live stream. And of course, if you got a question for Dr. Branch, you can post it in the comments on our live stream, or you can give us a call at 870-277-1080. The phone number is 870-277-1080.
Another thing I want to point out, you mentioned about, we talked about what drove you into this line of study and profession. You know, one thing I want to say to people is that just because we study ourselves, that just because I'm pro me, doesn't I'm anti everything else.
And I would also say that in the business I'm in, the most well-regarded books, the books that tend to win prestigious awards on African American history, often aren't written by us. So, it's interesting how this has happened. When I was growing up, people didn't see the importance of African American history, and I would even say that among some people, it's true today. I mean, I know from personal experience that people come to my African American history classes and they expect it to be a cakewalk, and they're often resentful when I say, we're going to read recent scholarship, we're going to read primary source documents, we're going to really understand the thought process in all of this. This has nothing to do with the memorization of dates, and people can often be very resentful about that. So that's very interesting to me how we arrived at a place where we were told our history is unimportant, right? And some people continue to believe that. Unfortunately, but I attend a lot of conferences and give lots of lectures, and I promise you, people are winning really prestigious awards in African American history.
That is wonderful. I was looking on the ASU page under your description, and I see that you won like numerous awards. Can you share some of those with us?
Well, my most recent award was for my first book on Black and white women civil rights activists in South Carolina. And I'm an award from the Association of Black Women Historians for the best junior scholar book of the year in 2014. And let me tell you how that happened. I didn't know. I was at the conference and someone rolls up to me and says, "Are you coming to the luncheon?" And I looked at him and I really was like, "Who are you?" Because I didn't know who this person was. And he said, "Well, I'll still going to tell you, you won the book award." So of course I had to go up at that point.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a very prestigious award, and I'm especially proud of it because this is an organization of Black women who are stellar scholars, who are stellar historians, and they're tough critics. So if they thought it was worthy of the award, yeah, I did something right.
That is wonderful. Do you see yourself writing? Well, of course, you're always writing.
I'm always
Yeah, you go to the Facebook page. She will tell you 200 words
Yes,
there, 4
yes.
words
In
there.
fact, as tired as I am, that's what I'm going to do later on today.
Because she'll
Write
say,
some more.
okay, 500 words and I can go eat the salad.
Incentives, yes.
Okay. So you are leaving a legacy behind for those coming after you to really have something to read, to study, and just, really be proud of. So thank you for all of your contributions that you're making to society.
Thank you. You know what? And I'm having fun. I don't feel like I'm working hard. I'm having fun. And I would also tell you that the projects that I'm working on now are all about Arkansas women.
I wanted to ask you about
Please do.
during the last, well, not the last, but the poetry event we had in February. We did a series of readings, and I was really intrigued, that you brought out a lot of Arkansas history, blacks in Arkansas. Like, oh my God, I've never heard that stuff before.
Yeah.
So what pushed you more into, okay, let's talk about Arkansas, let's talk about blacks in Arkansas, and then black women in Arkansas.
Same thing. Someone always of Arkansas history whom I know who have done wonderful work. Again, I can really see black women represented there. Often people think African American history means black men, just like they think women's history means white women.
Yes.
And so for me, history is about looking at what we do have and figuring out what's missing. And usually that's not difficult.
Okay.
That's not difficult. So everything that I'm writing about these days is about Arkansas women and Arkansas black women in particular. In fact, the 2 book projects I'm working on now, one is exclusively a single author book that I'm writing on Arkansas, black women in Arkansas, and the other one is an edited collection called Arkansas Women of Odds and Times, and I'm co-editing that with my colleague, Dr. Gary Edwards.
Okay.
And we can learn more about Arkansas women every day right here on KLE 2.5 FM as part of our Black History Moments. And like we said, that's just another way in which Dr. Branch is leaving a legacy by utilizing the airwaves and our reach as well as our stream, which reaches worldwide. So people all over the world actually are getting the chance to learn just a bit more about Black history through Dr. Branch. So just kind of want to get your thoughts and comments on that.
I think it's really important work because one of the things that I noticed when I first moved to Arkansas is that number one, we really didn't know a lot of the history, and that there was almost this inferiority complex about Arkansas. But I'm here to tell everybody in the area that there is so much untouched and untapped African American history in Arkansas. You can't even believe it. I could be writing from now until kingdom come, and publishing from now until kingdom come.
Oh, that's not good.
So Dr. Branch, what kind of feedback have you gotten from in the public from people who?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you for the comments, Farrell.
Thank you.
Well, see, there we go. That just kind of ties into my question. There, you have a listener call in saying she appreciates
And
your
one I
work.
really, really respect too.
So
Yes.
when people come up to you and say, "Hey, I heard you on the radio," how does it make you feel knowing that you are making a difference?
It makes me feel very proud that I'm a member of a community where I can make a difference. It's really important to me to do that. It's really important to me to give back. And it's also really important for me to impress upon people that history is not boring.
And
History is not boring. And I get why you might think it's boring, particularly if you don't see yourself represented in that history. And so that is one of my objectives, to give you history where you can see yourself in Jonesboro, in Arkansas, the nation, the world, wherever, and to also really help people question why you don't see yourself. Because I'm telling you, I got piles. Ask my husband sometimes. I got books, piles of papers, of stuff all over my house. I have always got a project that I'm working on. I'm working on 3 or 4 different projects just in Arkansas alone right now.
oh, Sadly, some students in my present, myself included, they take history class just to pass, just to get a grade, just to fulfill their requirement. When I was a freshman, back in the 90s, I took African American history, and I did not give it my best effort, I admit. And now I'm going to attempt to go back to school in January. I'm going to have to look up some of your classes.
Please do. And don't beat yourself up. We were all really, really young and naive at one point in our life, and just not mature. Really,
we're gonna have to leave it there. We'll be back with the conversation with Dr. Cherisse Jones-Branch. This is KLK on 2.5 FM.
Beat yourself up. You know what? Everybody did that.
Webcam still rolling.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying. I always tell people that so they don't say anything.
Okay. Everybody did that. I have a student right now who I really pushed to a master's degree and go into a doctoral program. And I have this low GPA and I can't. Stop saying what you can't do. You can do it. You can do this. Sometimes we can just go short a little bit and be a bit more appreciative and respectful of the opportunities that are in front of us, and forgive yourself and just do what you're trying.
Well, Dr. Branch, not to draw Frank Arkansas, I've got one that you may want to delve into. Eliza Miller.
Yes, that is a Rosemont school down in your hometown.
And something else that I learned that she opened up the first black-owned theater in the United States.
Okay, we need to talk about that then, because that was a small school, and I don't know that during the 1920s Mississippi flood, that's where they housed black refugees, and they turned the school into a hospital.
They don't admit it. It's
I figured you probably knew something about it, but I didn't want to deal with mine.
No. I mean, that's the other thing too. When you all have information you need and resources, let me know. Let me know. I'm trying to incorporate everything I find in the book that I'm writing on. You all are on these
If you would like some photos, I can give you the guys. See those two pictures up there? That was done by a photographer, Roger Johnson. He actually has pictures of the school, of the theater. So I can give you his son Steve. You can contact him about get permission to use photographs.
Also, I don't know if you guys probably know about the Encyclopedia of Arkansas History and Culture. It's a website that has all the Arkansas information on it. The Encyclopedia of Arkansas History and Culture. And they constantly adding entries to that website. And I know the guy who edits the website, in fact, because I owe 4 or 5 entries, right? See, I've already got something going.
I'm just admit, I'm not gonna beat myself up, but I had dropped the ball a lot. And this year, I decided, okay, I'm gonna get more into studying about me. Like, for so long, I looked there, okay, I'm light skinned. People look at me like, I struggle with, am I black and am I,
who said the definition of that though? I realize that there's more than black, and what is enough? I mean, this is determine what's enough.
And I think a lot of it, it's a lot more mental, and it's because I had the opportunity to live in different areas where it was, I grew up in Marianna, so it was like 90. And other than I had the opportunity to go to the suburbs. My best friend was a white girl, and so it was maybe 5 black in the whole school. So anyway, I don't know. I feel like I connect with people by everything. Like that's a good thing. But somewhere along the way, I think I didn't study enough about me, and so I was starting to get more into money. I want to be more of an actor. I need to start doing something more positive. I need to start leaving a legacy. I've also fallen in love with people like that. I know there's so many more women that have done, things, but
who lived in Arkansas for a while. Audre Lorde.
Do you like the music?
So I want to get into poetry. I want to stay more like
do you like service we provide to the community? If you like a station to finally call your own that represents you? If so, please stop by or call any of our underwriters or sponsors that you hear at KLEK and tell them thank you for their support. The support of our underwriters and sponsors is vital for us to stay on the air. So be sure to let them know that you thank them for their support.
And now back to community conversation, KLEK 102.5 FM.
Welcome back to Community Conversations. We are having a wonderful conversation with Dr. Cherisse Jones-Branch, Educator 1, and your co-host, Kabila Hart, here in the studio. Thank you, Branch, for joining us. We have had a wonderful conversation in the first half. It's been so informative. My brain is like just wide open right now.
And I'm surprisingly energetic.
Well, I think that just goes to show how passionate you are
Very much so.
about history. And I think, even if you have jet lag and have had 3 hours of sleep, just mention the word history, just automatically makes you come to life.
I like that. And do you mind if you asked me earlier about Nova Scotia. Do you mind if I tell you about a couple of
Sure. I mean, like I said, we want you to talk about your experiences.
Oh my gosh. One of the first things we did, I went to a place called Africville in Nova Scotia, and you can look it up. It was a community that existed probably from the late 19th century until the city of Halifax moved them in the 1950s and 60s. They called it urban renewal. But anyway, this was a predominantly African-American community in Nova Scotia, and after they moved them, they all ended up in public housing. But this was a self-sustaining black community in Nova Scotia. And now the city decided, first they put an infectious disease hospital there. They built a dump on the site. So we're talking about environmental racism, right? And then they took the entire area from this community. They didn't have sewage, they didn't have anything that the rest of Halifax had, although well into the 20th century, actually. So, and then they eventually moved these people off their land. But what they have done is they have managed, out of 500 acres, they've managed to get 2.5 acres back from the city of Halifax, and they have built a replica of one of their churches. I think it was Seaview Baptist Church or something like that. But they built a replica of the church, and they've turned it into a museum about Africville.
Okay.
It just fascinating. The stories, the people, many of the people who lived in Africville in the 1960s still live in the area. So you've got that kind of community. And then talking to a couple of the guys who are the children and grandchildren of former Africville residents, they talk about some of the things they deal with in Canada, and they say, people would have you believe that Canada is this rural and welcoming place. In a lot of ways, of course, it is.
Okay.
But just to hear these younger people talk, I realized very quickly that they have many of the same issues that some African Americans have here in the United States. Low employment, poor access to schools, segregation is real. Right? This is 2016, so I had I was able to tour that site, and then I went to the Black Loyalist Center in Georgetown, Scotia, and this is just one of the towns where many people of African descent ended up. So let me back up a little bit. You got to have a little bit of the backstory. During the Revolutionary War, you realize that many formerly enslaved African Americans left with the British.
Oh, okay.
They left with the British, and they went to the Bahamas and places like that, other British possessions. But they also went to Nova Scotia, where they established towns like Birdstown and other towns. But they established towns like Birdstown. They built a school there. They had a community there. Again, a self-sustaining community. So you've got these people who are the descendants of formerly enslaved Black Americans who are living in Nova Scotia today.
Oh.
And things they have at the museum that just was fascinating. And I heard about this for a book of Negroes. And so these people were what became the United States. They had to sign this book. Their name was signed in the book, where they came from, who had formerly owned them, so that slave owners could be compensated for these folks, right? But you can look at this book and you can see where people came from, right? You can trace the names. So like, for example, my sister found a guy whose last name was Washington, who came from Charleston, South Carolina, left with the British, moved to Nova Scotia. So it's entirely possible possible that one of my ancestors left this country and moved to Canada for a better opportunity. And of course, that's a complicated history as well, right? Because they got to Canada and things weren't necessarily better there. But just this fascinating story of people always moving, because when we think about migrations, we think about the U.S. Great Migration, right? And even that's a story. We don't think about the fact that not only did people within the United States, they left the country.
Wow.
They left the country, and so now you've got these Afro-Canadians whose roots are actually in the United States.
And that's part of history you don't really learn. You don't learn.
You learn about that. I mean, where do these people go? All right, some of these people leave. Thousands of people of African descent left this country to go to these British possessions, and their descendants are still there today.
We're always hearing about how the Irish, came over here, and the Germans, and the Asians, but we never heard about people actually leaving.
Mm-hmm. Well, and later in the 19th century, you do know that there was a Back to Africa movement in Arkansas.
Okay, please tell us more about that.
People left Arkansas to go to West Africa. They went to Liberia, which was essentially the United States colony in Africa. People left around, between, I would say 1885, 1888 or something like that. Ken Burns, he's a professor at the University of Central Arkansas. He wrote a book about this, and the name escapes me right now. I think it's called Journey of Hope or something like that. But he writes about these African Americans who left from places like Mississippi County, Phillips County. They left. They left the country and moved to Africa. So there are all these stories. There's also a book about, we've all heard of Marcus Garvey. Mm-hmm. Not many people know that there are chapters of the United Negro Improvement Association in Arkansas, in Blytheville, in places like that. So there's all of this information out there about all of these things that happened in Arkansas. It just really blew my mind when I moved here, how people know or think they know the story about what happened in Little Rock Central in the Central High School crisis in 1957. That's not where Arkansas Black history ends. Wow.
I would encourage anyone that's out there listening, go pick up Dr. Branch's books, go to your library, and pretty soon
some of these books are free. They're available as ebooks.
It's pretty soon, like Gaines was talking about, no one, probably children nowadays, outside this generation, they probably don't even know how to navigate the index file, know how to navigate a library, know what to do.
Throwback,
the index file, they're in the archives now.
Flip through the cards.
That's what we had to do.
They don't even know what a Dewey Decimal System
is. You don't want that's something I probably haven't heard about 20 years.
They still use this, but remember when we used to have to flip the cards? You don't have to do it anymore. You can look it up right on this iPad.
I think everyone should take some time, make it a family moment, get some information, study, and show your children, Arkansas is all about, what it was all about. Give them little bits of their culture every day.
And visit some of the sites in Arkansas. So like, for example, there's the Mosaic Temple Cultural Center in Little Rock. There's the Edie Mae Heron Center in Pocahontas, Arkansas. It was a colored school with Pocahontas, Arkansas, which never had a large black population. Take them to Fort Smith, Arkansas. Bass Reeves in Fort Smith, Arkansas was, I believe, the first African-American U.S. Marshal.
Oh, wow.
So there's history here.
So instead of going on a long vacation outside of
Arkansas, take a staycation.
Okay, I think I need to do that. Even though my son is 19 now, he probably thinks some of this is like over his head and boring, but
it's not. I don't think it is.
I would love to start instilling in him something, so that he can, as he grows and one day maybe have children, he can instill it in them as well.
Absolutely, and it's critical. Or we lose it, or we see things happen in the news or in history. We think, oh, this is the first black. No, it's not. It's the first time you've heard about it.
Okay.
But this person is not the first. We had political, when we couldn't join the state Democratic Party, which was predominantly white, like forever in Arkansas and throughout the South. Black people formed their own political party. In 1928, they formed the Arkansas Negro Democratic Association.
And whatever came of that, is it still in existence today?
Not as far as I know, it isn't, but this is just an example of what Black people have had to do when they have not been able to access certain political, economic, and social institutions. They create their own, you know. And in talking about Black history, we always talk about this as if it happened somewhere else. It happened here. When I teach my African American and civil rights classes, yeah, I talk about the stuff that happened in other places, but then I always have Arkansas examples, or I encourage my students to look for Arkansas examples.
So you view that once you get college courses that maybe in college need to fill extra slots in your schedule, I would strongly advise you to take one of Dr. Branch's classes. I mean, just for educational purpose alone.
Learn who you are and who your people are, because great things have happened in this state.
It's wonderful.
I think that you have done a great job in your position, filling the shoes of Dr. Calvin Smith, who.
Yes.
Oh wow.
Yes.
Yeah, she
heard that name. Wow.
Well, Dr. Branch actually was who
You were on
selected
the
to take his
committee
place.
that hired me when he retired.
So he personally endorsed her to take his place.
Endorsed me, and yes, although I do find it interesting that I'm only the second African American that department has had in like 30 some odd years, but it is what it is.
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry. Are you the only professor that teaches African American studies?
I teach African American history. Now, we do have an African American studies minor, and it is an interdisciplinary minor.
Okay.
So I teach African American history. I have a colleague who teaches African history. I have colleagues in sociology and English and political science, but I'm the only one who teaches African history.
Okay.
And before me, it was Dr. Smith. Look at it this way, and I think anybody who is in the humanities and social sciences would agree with me on this. You learn writing, or you improve your writing skills, you learn how to communicate, you learn how to be a very critical and analytical thinker, and you may not be majoring or minoring in history, but you don't have to. I defy anyone to tell me where in life you won't use those skills.
Well, yeah, because even like in the radio field, I have to write all the time because our writers and sponsors, I have to write what's in the radio business called copy. I have to write the scripts for radio stations that do news. You have to write down the news report. So even though we play a lot of music here at KLK, you still can't escape from writing.
You can't escape writing. And I also always ask people to question why you would want to an African American history class and decide that it's going to be easy. Would you take that attitude in another class?
Well, I think they go much deeper.
Yes, but we don't have time here. But
we do have another Facebook shout out to my fraternity brother Gerard. I appreciate you checking out our live stream. Yeah, we had Gerard on recently on the show.
Him and Rashida talking about different programs that work on the TRIO program.
I really love those programs.
And of course, if you want to get shouted out, just like our post on our Facebook live feed, or leave a comment or a question if you have one for Cherisse Jones-Branch, or give us a call just like Mrs. Farrell at 870-277-1080, and we would love to talk to you. And Dr. Branch will happily answer your questions about her studies, or about history, or just anything on your mind.
I do have one question, and that's if you even have any time anywhere between
Traveling and writing and teaching and serving on committees and.
Okay, have you ever, or do you ever plan to do maybe community seminars or host community events? Maybe do a small setup of pictures and like a museum type deal?
You know, I haven't thought about it, but I would certainly be open to it. The one thing I do fairly often, not a lot at Jonesboro, unfortunately, I do give talks all over the place. I mentioned that I just came back from Canada, but I was in Canada a couple months ago giving a talk at a university there for Black History Month on Arkansas.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes, I have a colleague there, and I don't know if I mentioned this, I'm writing about Black women's history in Arkansas. I'm specifically focusing on rural Black women in Arkansas. So I now sort of package and present myself as an agricultural historian.
Okay.
But for their Black History Month, they said, we want a U.S. speaker we want to invite her to our university, and my colleague said, well, I know this professor at Arkansas State University who writes about rural black women in Arkansas, why don't we invite her? So I'm taking us global. So all of that to say that I'm giving lectures, and oftentimes the lectures do come with PowerPoint presentations, so I've collected pictures and newspaper articles and things like that. So I suppose I have done that kind of thing,
Okay.
but I really haven't ever done it. I've only done it a couple of times in Jonesboro, but in other parts of Arkansas I've done it quite a bit.
Please know when you're doing any other presentation or something that we can access via web. I would love to watch, listen. I'm definitely going to be looking up your books so that I can add to my collection.
And if you guys, and if anybody out there has information on rural black women, I write quite a bit these days about black home demonstration agents, black club women. You have mothers and grandmothers and relatives who were involved in all of these things. I promise you do.
Okay.
And if you come across information, let me know. And I also tell people this, part of the fun of what I do and part of the fun of being a professor is that I'm very good at admitting what I don't know.
Okay.
That's half the fun.
Okay.
Half the fun is learning all of this new stuff every day.
I can imagine your brain is probably like,
Oh, it's quite a bit for my brain to shut down. I'm up at 3 o'clock in the morning making lists, dog-earing books, putting in posts, and I'm always reading.
okay.
Yes, ma'am, always.
I need to get back into that practice. I have a tote full of books. I usually mainly have been focusing on poetry since that's my area of interest, but I need to really expand my library.
Yes, I mean, one of the things I love to do in my job is that when a colleague publishes a new book, and if it's in my area, Black Women Agriculture or something like that, they'll often contact me, and I'm not the only one, and ask me to review the book, which of course I do, get a free book.
Okay.
You know, so that's how I find out about the most recent scholarship. That's how I discover sources for projects I'm working on.
Okay.
And it's like I said, it's fun. I do a lot, but I'm having fun, so it doesn't feel like a lot to me.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Speaking with Dr. Cherisse Jones-Branch, Professor of History at Arkansas State University. This is Community College on K102.5 FM. Kato Wonder is in the studio with you, along with my co-host. This is We're going to get ready to go into a break, but you still have time to get your questions in for Dr. Branch. Just give us a call at 870-277-1080, or if you are watching on our Facebook feed, feel free to post your comments and your questions as well. We would love to hear from you. We'll be back with more. This is Kate, 2.5 FM. Yeah, it's fun. So it could be a list of, like I said, in the wrestling business, we call it on the fly.
Did not put any questions there.
I know you drive organizations, and me, I just fly by the seat of my pants.
I think a little bit of both.
I mean, there are times that I can go off the cuff, but I do like to have. I'm an outliner. I'm an A1, I'm an
Yeah,
and see, people like her balance people like me out.
Well, and some of us operate in between. Like when I talk, I always have my notes. But I often go off the cuff, particularly if there's a point that I really want to drive home, or if I've uncovered something or whatever. But I'm never going to stand there and talk with a script. I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to know the subject matter, and I'm going to do that.
I'm really learning some speaking from you. This is a new avenue for me, but this is going to be before. And I'm really loving it. And I don't know how far it's going to take me in this, I don't know if I want to call it a career. My first thought early on, and I love doing nails. So my thoughts are I want to do
See, I don't got an eye. Like, it was one of my eyes open, one of my nails. And I feel with my hands on a lot. I think beautiful.
my mother.
When I travel, I love magnets.
Okay.
I get a magnet.
You know what, Dr. Branch, since you've done it every month, I'm going to give you a copy.
Oh, thank you. in real life, but I don't really care.
Okay.
I'm at a place where I don't care what you think about me anymore.
I want to ask you real quick. I have recently
She's
Ancestors labored. It is now a horticultural garden. And I spent some time in the military. I spent a year at an HBCU. Actually went to South Carolina State University for a year. Got yanked out and sent to the Persian Gulf. And when I returned, I transferred to the College of Charleston, where I stayed for my bachelor's and my master's. And then I left to my PhD at the Ohio State University. And the V is important.
So why is the V important?
Because we need to make sure there's a distinction between the Ohio State University in Columbus and Ohio University in Athens.
Okay. And so I know I've asked you before off the air, what brought you to Arkansas?
Well, I was finishing up my doctorate at the university, and I had applied for a number of jobs, and one of them just happened to be Dr. Smith's job at Arkansas State University, and I didn't know very much about Arkansas at all. The only time I'd ever been here was when I was in the Army, and we did a training exercise at Fort Chaffee, I can never remember which it is, and that was the only time I'd been to Arkansas, and what I remember most vividly were all the armadillos on the road.
Were they dead?
They're dead. Yeah, it was hot. It was really, really hot. And that's all I remember really about Arkansas. And I said, well, I don't really know anything about Jonesboro, but I'll at least go to the interview, see what's up, whatever. Got to this, and then I lost my luggage.
Oh, wow. Time has went by pretty quickly.
Oh, how's that?
But we have 2.5 minutes, so once again, I want to thank Dr. Cherisse Jones-Branch for stopping by and having this very lovely discussion with us. So, Dr. Branch, in the 2 minutes and 15 seconds we have left, just give any shout out to give or anything that we may have talked about that you would like to let us know.
I have really enjoyed working for Arkansas State University. I really enjoy the work that I do. I am interacting with the students, and I enjoy seeing them grow and prosper and go on to do other things in their lives. And they might think I'm difficult, but then they go on to excel in law school, graduate school, so on and so forth. And so I tell them, trust me, I may not know what I'm doing every day,
Okay.
but once or twice a week I actually manage to figure it out.
Okay.
And because I'm a little bit older than you are, I can see a little bit further into the future
Yes.
than you can. Oh, and I've walked this path before.
Okay, and I think just because you're a little older, you don't know anything. Or you don't understand where they're coming from now.
You're not the first, nor are you the last person to do this. So, just listen for a couple of minutes. I won't steer you wrong.
Okay, I have one quick announcement. I'm sorry, Mr. Cato Wonder. There is an NAACP meeting tonight at Fullness of Joy at 6 p.m. If you're interested in becoming a member or just want more information, please go out tonight, Fullness of Joy, 6 p.m. NAACP meeting.
All right, yeah, and that is going down. Also, at 6 o'clock p.m., Fullness of Joy Ministries. Dr. Branch, we have 50 seconds to talk about the future. What do you think the future is going to be for you and for history in general?
Well, I think in about 50 to 100 years we'll have an awful lot to talk about, particularly with some of the changes happening around the country. But I would also tell people that now none of it is new.
Okay.
None of it is new. In terms of my personal journey, I just want to continue to research and write and educate people as best I can.
And don't forget, you can check out Dr. Cherisse Jones-Branch each and every day right here on KLK 102.5 AM for our Black History Moment. So we want to thank Dr. Branch for volunteering her time to help to educate, entertain, and empower our listeners. This is KLK 102.5 FM. We'll see you.
All right. Thank you. I'm so sorry.